Welcome to Timberborn and the settlement of Whitewater. We are continuing our quest to make the entire map of these beavers green. In this episode, we're going to be bringing green to the last corner of the map, increasing our bot production, and dramatically increasing the amount of power. Last episode, we just finished a very big redesign of our industrial complex. And this added some bad water brigs, some more green up here, and more importantly, bots. So bots are really going to help us get out of our job deficit, but they're also going to be able to help us with our new construction efforts. For this canyon, you can see we have a few interesting challenges. We've got kind of this irregular terrain up in this highlands. Then we have this little bit of shape here that could potentially be a lake, but it would spill water off in 3 different locations. And finally, we've got this canyon where water is going to run off the map, but we also have this mine here, which really limits what we can do. I don't want to lose the mine, but it's going to get in the way. I'm thinking we could get rid of this dirt mountain here, continue a river all the way down into this end area, block off the edges on each side here to make it a lake, and then I'm planning on running that water down into the canyon. But instead of letting it run off the map, I think I'm going to redirect it back towards the inside of the map, wrap it around this kind of outcropping, and have only one exit of water for the entire map. And that should effectively make most of this green. So the first thing I want to take care of are these ruins. You can see they're going to kind of take up space and make it difficult to work with. So I'm going to remove these, or at least get beavers working on that, since that's going to take a while. Throw down a couple scrappers just to speed run the removal of this. And we're going to need a way to get the beavers back there. So I'm thinking what we'll do is just kind of tear out these trees in a line here to make a road. And we're in the middle of a drought, so I think I'm going to remove this old blockage here and replace it with platforms, just so I can build a road over it. With that bumped up to high priority, that should get that scrap removed pretty quickly. Next up, let's take a look at getting water up here. So like I mentioned, what I'm thinking of is continuing the water that we have in this lake and then making a river all the way back up to here. So our first task is going to be to get rid of this. And I can see that we have 3 unemployed bots. I think what I'm going to do is start using bots for our builders that we can have them working overnight. So it's very cheap to unlock that. And let's start working on this. So to give the beavers easier access to that construction site, I'm just going to continue this main road that we've got already just to go all the way up that hill. Let's continue that run over the lake. And then we're going to need a tall staircase. Now removing this is going to be a little bit annoying because we've got to get access to all these kind of nooks and crannies. So we'll mark down some staircases, and then we're going to mark all these trees for being yanked out. With all the trees removed, we'll lay down some of that dynamite. Before you know it, we've got the dynamite ready to start blasting and make a nice flat space up here. While they pick up that last little piece of dynamite, let's start looking at how we're going to make this river. I'm going to keep it very simple. I'm going to do a 3-wide river, because I think a 3-wide river gives the largest reach for turning things green. And I'm just going to run it all the way down the edge of the map there. And we'll straighten out some of those kind of square roads a bit. As we get close to the end here, we've got more dead trees, so let's rip all these out so we can keep this going. Now, once we get to the end here, this is where it gets tricky. I don't want to just run the water right into this, because it's just going to flood off the map. So we're going to have to fill in dirt for each of these areas, I think. Dirt, or levees. I think dirt looks a little bit nicer in this case, so we're going to fill it in that way. So I'll put those stairs down, rip out everything I can down here. And as they remove those trees, that's going to give us some space to put down a little bit of terraforming. Actually, to speed this up, I don't want them to have to build that all in one row. We're going to have them build this from 2 directions. We're going to do the same from this side too. Now, I still need to figure out what I'm going to do with this part, and I'm going to have the water flow out of here. But before I do, I'm going to give the beavers some time to finish what I've already queued up, and I'm going to deal with another problem in the meantime. So you can see that we've got more bots that have been built. In fact, we've got 9 bots without jobs. As I mentioned earlier, I moved some of them to be our builders, and I moved some of them to be our plank development. But we finally got out of our plank bankruptcy. So now I'm going to take these bots, and I think I'm going to still speed up production of more bots. Now, because a lot of the commenters pointed out something that I didn't realize, since the injury mechanic is new to me, is that certain jobs produce a higher rate of injury. And that's going to be our bot assemblers, our bad water rigs, and some of our heavy industry. At the same time, these are the ones that cost a lot of science, so I've been kind of reluctant to do it, even though I have a lot of science, because there's a few other buildings I've been waiting to unlock. I think I'm going to do it anyways. But I'm going to pair that with actually replacing our old janky inventors with some observatories. So let's start with getting the bot part factories. We're going to pay 5,000 science, and we're going to unlock those. So we've got those being manned by our Timberbots. And we're also going to pay 10k science to get our bot assemblers. The other thing I'm noticing is that they're waiting a long time for things. So I've got this building prioritized by haulers. And so the Timberbot 7, he's not actually picking up anything. So he's waiting for a hauler to go and bring it. But this building has so many supplies it needs its input, and I don't think we have enough haulers to go grab it all. So even though I wasn't expecting to do this, I'm going to put down more hauling posts. And these are all going to be manned by bots, which is really cheap to do. So what's going to happen is, as these bots roll off the assembly line, they're just going to go fill in these hauling post jobs, which should really start making our other bot assembly faster, because that seems to be really where our bottleneck is. So I think that's just a matter of waiting for this to kind of snowball. Now, I will do the other thing that I wanted to do, which was address our science. So what I'm going to do is put an observatory or two right up on this mountain. I think that would be really cool, and that frees us to eventually remove these down in our downtown district. So what I'm thinking of doing is just tapping into this underground power shaft under the walkway. And that will give us this point right here. So the observatory, I think we can plan on 2 of them side by side, just like that, kind of on our peak. Then we'll have to plan on power going up and a nice walkway to get there. Now, this is kind of an interesting space. I still need storage for catalyst at some point in the future, and this might be a good place to put some tanks. Now, this road is a little awkward. If I had a little bit more space, I could put 2 tanks side by side here, which would be really nice because that's close to these catalysts. I could just make a walkway right there. You know, I think that's doable as long as I had a different way to get power over to these. And I think I could just move the power over to the backside here. So we'll do that. We're going to keep all of that dirt. We'll make our power shaft over on this side. Then we'll plan on all of this being scaffolding. And then we can put those large tanks that will hold our catalyst right here. And then the road can come on down. That looks like a good use of that space. And that's going to really unlock our science because, as you can see, I've already spent half of our science very quickly, and I've barely begun to unlock more of these bot factories. And while the beavers are working on that, there's something I noticed down here. After I built those bad water rigs, I did forget to actually turn off these bad water pumps. So these poor people, they're here trying to extract bad water from pure water and making 0 progress. So these guys can be decommissioned. They've been made obsolete by the bad water rigs, and that will give us those 3 workers back. We've got a little bit of time while we wait for this to complete. Let's check back on our terraforming project. Well, I can see most of the dynamite's now laid down, and it looks like they're just starting to put in that dirt wall, and all those trees are cleared up. And how are we looking at that scrap? Well, that's looking excellent because they just literally removed the last piece right now. So these can all go away. And I want to get this thing empty, so haulers can go ahead and empty this large scrap pile. All our haulers showed up on the map to pull out all the scrap. Actually, no, these aren't haulers, they're regular people. I guess if you deprioritize building, it summons the entire village to get rid of it? That's crazy. I've got like half the village that came out to empty this thing. Anyways, that will make short work of that. Let's get back to planning this. So, first thing, I want to get rid of water draining off the edge of the map. So we're going to have to fill this in somehow. Well, I think I'm going to do something a little overkill. I'm going to build a huge dirt column. We're literally just going to fill this canyon in from the other side. So we'll start like that. Then we'll start getting that side. And to make short work of this, I'm going to have them start working from the other side too. Now, getting dirt from over here is kind of a pain because they've got to walk all the way down here, up here, and then back down. And since I expect a lot of dirt to need to be put in there, let's make an expressway. So we're going to flatten this a little bit, make a stairway all the way up this hill, get all the way up to this ledge, and then we're going to make a bridge all the way across here. And then we're going to have 2 bridges there meet in the middle. From here, that's going to let us fill this all in. And because they can build from the bridge, they can build downward. Completely overkill for what we need. Next up, now that all this scrap has been taken away, Let's see what we can do about this mine shaft. We'll remove the roads that we've got there already. I think what we want to do is basically do something similar to what we did in the pit and wall this off. We only have to wall it up as much as I'm going to fill this in with water. So I'm trying to figure that out because I imagine we're going to have some dam structure here that's going to run this archway. And that dam's going to let out a waterfall into this structure, which will have a pool. And the pool is then going to flood back into the river. So just for planning, let's say we start with this. It's going to take them a while to get here, so we can just see what this would look like. So we have, let's say we have a mine wrapped off like that. And if I remember the shape of a mine, it's going to have some entryway in the middle there. I think we could do something like this. Like if we were to dynamite these two pieces out, that would make room for stairs to kind of switch back up here. And then that could eventually work its way back up to this large kind of freeway got shaping up here. We would just need maybe a way to get down from there. We'll start with something like that. We'll take some time, the beavers some time to actually get there. That will be our plan. But with that out of the way, that means that we can start planning this to be filled with water for the rest of the place here. So we'll fill that in with dirt. We've got kind of the inner mine worked out. Now let's figure out what we're going to do for the main dam structure. So I think there should be some gate here to kind of control the flow of water down. First thing we'll do is deepen this river. We've got the chance. And now we can make that dam. Now for this dam, let's imagine that we kind of squared it up with this area. So I'm thinking that maybe running right down here, and we could make that flush with this canyon. So it would be right around here. Yeah, something like that. And if we're gonna bring the water level up to here, that would mean that we need kind of a triple floodgate that'd be flush with it. So maybe another level. Then we can round out the levees on both sides. And I think what I'm going to do, to make this look kind of impressive, I want to build out this like center area a bit more. So I'm going to fill in that with a little bit more dirt. Yeah, that looks interesting. And I think what I'm going to do is a bridge on one side. So we're going to have two bridges meet in the middle. But imagine if we fix the height, something like that. Maybe to square this up and look a little bit more symmetrical, I'm going to get rid of this. All that water is going to drain out, but I'm going to replace it with levees. And do we have enough space then that we could make stairwells down and then connect those? Yeah, just barely. That's at least part of the structure plan for here. We've got the dirt wall coming back, we've got the dam here. Also have most of this run all ready to go. The last piece is going to be the retaining wall here. Oh, and one thing I should do really quick. This is going to run into problems with flooding. So I want that at least one higher than the water level. Otherwise it will take forever to drain that. Okay, for here, I think what I want is there to be a dam and then the water to come out here. There's kind of this natural run where the water could trickle down right in there into this valley. So let's see if we were to kind of mirror that curved in shape. Could we do something like that? Like we won't have a lot of water running through here, so we could do two dams right in the middle. Destroy that one piece to be symmetrical. That oddball piece there too. And we'll put down some dynamite to maybe just control the flood coming down. Now I think we can just kind of continue that pattern and see what this would look like. If we want a triple floodgate, that'll give us the maximum control over the water up here. And our dam will look something like this. Now we'll just need a few access points to be able to get up there and work on it. And since we have a lot of bots, I'm going to provide access points to a few different areas. And because I want the scaffolding to be done first, not after they finish the dam, or there's no point to it, I'll just bump up that scaffolding priority. Oh, and are these beavers? Look at this. I think these beavers are dropping dirt way down here. Yeah, these are finally starting to be built. So our bypass way is finally starting to go into action. I also want quicker access to here, because it's kind of a pain to get to the central area. Our dirt's here, so ideally I want them to just walk straight across. So we're going to do exactly that. We'll put a stairway down, pull out these trees, and I think what I'll do is I'm just going to build a bridge right over this all the way to the end. Like all the way over here. That's good enough for now. I'm probably going to terraform that later, just into a different shape. But if I could prioritize that, that's going to be a lot faster to get all those goods shipped over. Oh, look at, they're very busy. I can see the stacks and stacks of beavers running through to get all that stuff now. They're not even bothering to use the road at this point. Okay, that retaining wall is starting to take shape. Oh, you know, the other thing I'm going to do is start blocking off some of the water from coming off the map. All the water that on the rest of the map is basically funneling into this point, so I'm going to make it at least 4 floodgates wide so I have control over it. And they should be able to build that from that bridge. And that will let us, you know, take out this dam that we've had since the very beginning of the game. With all that prep work, now we just need to wait for the beavers to do their thing. Or at least build up a few more bots, then I could start introducing some new bot builders. Now, something I noticed is that they can't build off the edge of that bridge. So I thought, for example, that I could build this bridge behind the dam, and then they could build the dam in front. But it doesn't work that way like it does with platforms. So instead, what I'm going to do is build a silly looking bridge kind of on top of the dam. That way they can build below them. And then this will at least make it possible for them to build those floodgates, and then we can go ahead and rip it out after. Yeah, like this is such a waste of resources, but we'll get it recouped. It also just really looks interesting. Makes me tempted to make a very much bridge-centered playthrough. Oh, and I can see, speaking of bridges, I see that we got our other kind of quick bypass bridge in there. Everybody's already taking use of that. And we've been making good work on this terraforming. Let's see, they haven't been able to get down to this part yet, which makes sense. We don't have any good access ways. First thing we should do is try to make some progress on that staircase. It is really tight space. What I'm thinking, I'm just going to make this stairs zigzag all the way up. And in the process, that should give us some space to build some stairs, so that the beavers can start walking up along these. And I'm realizing now that I don't really care about the order that these are built, so those arrows in the end are not really good. So I'll just try to fix those real quick. Oh yeah, and you can see exactly what I was saying earlier. Now that this is here, they're starting to build down these random spots down here, so that is perfect. Oh, and speaking of earlier, we do have a trickle of bots, excess bots finally. So I think we can just throw those in to start helping with the construction effort. Instantly, that gives us another 8 more builders. I'm gonna preemptively put some dirt down there as low priority in case we need more builder huts. Okay, so how are these guys doing? So they're all tackling, all our builders now, I think they are currently tackling this dam here. And laying down some more dynamite so we can get access to our mine. We almost have the plans ready. I think we need 1 more dynamite there. And we can almost build a staircase all the way down. And I think I'm gonna put all of these to kind of like moderate high priority. Just because I know the builders won't be able to build it all in parallel anyways because of the odd shape. Actually, maybe this is a good place for a bridge. A bridge would speed up this construction up quite a lot. If I put like a bridge, that would substantially speed up this terraforming. Yeah, let's do that. And I can always recoup that stuff after. And perfect, you can see that's already letting them build that dirt wall down below. And we've got another 12 unemployed bots, so we've got space for some even more robot builders here, which I am all for that. That's going to speed up, again, this construction again. At this point, we might have more bot builders than regular builders. Oh, wow. Look at that. Just in the time it took them to build the builder's hut, they've almost built all this dirt. So for that, I can reclaim this suspension bridge. We won't get everything back up, but we'll get enough. And then we can basically repeat the same process over here. Oh, okay, and this dam is done, so I don't need this suspension bridge either. So this guy can go. Our other main dam is making good progress here. We're actually not that far away from starting to fill this in with water then. So we've got 3 more days in this drought. I think by the time this drought ends, we're going to be ready to flood water into this rest of the map. While we wait for that, there is something else I wanted to check on these beavers. I know that the regular beavers get these bonuses to well-being. And I think there is a mechanic for bots to get the similar element. And so I think they get it through 2 things. They get it through something called punch cards, and I think catalyst. So the catalyst, we were waiting on maple syrup. So we're pretty close. Are we close to maple syrup yet? Oh, we do have a little bit of maple syrup coming in. That's great. Do we have anybody manning the refineries for catalysts? No. We have enough science for this, and we have excess bots. So let's put a few more bots into catalyst. We have this assigned to store catalyst. And then let's take one of these printing presses that makes books, and I'm going to switch it to the punch cards. If I look at our bot place up here, can I see any of these? It should tell me if one of them has a boost. So Timberbot 81. He's the one who made the catalyst, so of course he took it first. And you can see he got a +1, so basically a boost to his working speed and his running speed. And of course, we're in a power shortage. I think as all these things have come online, we've just been short on power. And our 2 little gravity batteries just aren't enough to keep all of this going. That is a problem that we're going to need to solve. And I actually have a plan for that. And it has to do with our new construction. What I'm thinking is that we could use some of this space above the water for some more windmills and gravity batteries. And the only catch is we have a long run to get this power all the way across the map. But I think we could do it while we've got all these beavers busily constructing. So all of our industrial sector is all connected to one unified power grid all the way down to the Ferris wheel. I think what we could do is run power from the Ferris wheel in the river up to where these poor beavers are still running on treadmills, put them out of their treadmill misery, and then continue the power up the mountainside from there. So maybe we could take the power up this way, cross the bridge, and then get all the way up that direction. So with that in mind, I'm going to start laying the groundwork for it, because I want to maximize the water we have in the river, and I don't want to put power lines through the river until that's ready to go. So let's take care of that first. It's going to take the beavers a while to get to this with everything else. So we'll just lay down some of the space here. And in fact, we can finally get rid of this original dam. This is our callback to our first dam that we built. This is like a museum piece for these beavers. And not anymore, it's destroyed. I'm surprised the beavers are laying this stuff down. I would expect them to be up on finishing our dam. Unless that means... oh, our dam is complete. Look at that. That is nice. Well, I think to finish it off, I'm just going to add a little bridge on either side. I think it needs 2-3 dams. Yeah, like that. And why didn't anybody get to that? Well, I guess they'll be able to once they get across those bridges. I think we can clean up our road a little bit, because with that drought ending, I think that means we're going to be able to fill in this water soon, because I think everything else is done. Okay, so we're going to do a double whammy here. First thing we're going to do is dynamite the water in the river down here. Not too exciting, but kind of needed. Next up, we're going to dynamite this long run for the new river, and we're going to start bringing green to the last corner of the map. And you can see the water rushing in right behind it. We'll see. I'm curious if this is going to cover all of this, all the way to the edge. We'll know for sure once it gets up high enough, but we might have to make a few inlets here and there. Maybe reaching the big lake? This is probably all the water from the water source is now being funneled in here. I bet everything is flowing in that direction. Yeah, you can see all the water in the map is basically flooding in this very long route. Yeah, even from the opening, everything is going that direction. We're gonna have to wait just a little bit longer, and then it's gonna get high enough to go over the edge. I'm gonna open that just a bit. I want the flow of water to go a little bit faster. I'll close that up once it gets full. Yeah, I like how that spreads the water out. Now the real test will be to see how green this center column gets once we flood all this up. Let's speed this up even more. I'm just going to open this full tilt. This water at its max height, we should start seeing some water spill out of this last dam right here. That's looking pretty good. I'm a little dissatisfied we didn't get all the green here, so I think there's other things we can do. But for now, I think we should consolidate what we've got. This is looking good, though. Now, what I want to do before I call it on this episode is I want to clean up, and I want to do something about our power situation. So by clean up, I mean I've got a lot of buildings that aren't really operating well at efficiency. Like, I had these buildings here, tearing out this tower, if you remember, and it's all gone. So let's do some of that. So you guys, you are out of business. Next up, we have 31 open slots and 29 now beavers. I think we can find whatever those buildings are and start assigning them from regular beavers over into the bots. So a couple candidates. Bad water rigs. I think beavers get injured there quite easily, so we're going to take those and we're going to switch those over to bots. Next up, let's do the same with our explosives factories. And for our smelters. What else are we running short of? We'll do the same for some of our refineries. And these are kind of fungible, because if we assign bots here, we're effectively releasing those beavers to go and do other things. So they can find wherever those open jobs are and replace them. You know, how about some of our bakeries? That's an area where we want those running all the time, even at night. And our grills too. Okay, that clears up some of the things. Next up, let's talk about power. And that's what I had kind of planned for this other edge here. I'm thinking of putting a mixture of gravity batteries and windmills, basically all down this run here. And I want it to be a little bit pretty, so I'm thinking of also having a run of trees on the outer edge, just kind of for decoration. So what I'm basically thinking is trees on the outer edge, followed by gravity battery, and then windmills kind of hanging up here on this edge. So what that means is we're gonna at least need to make a trench all the way down the center. That's gonna be really deep for these gravity batteries to maximize the amount of space that they can have. Other thing we're gonna have to do is, I think, build platforms that we can put those gravity batteries on and some temporary planters to plant the trees. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna run these all the way down, these platforms. With our army of builders, that's gonna go quick. Next up, we're gonna throw down some of our planters. So we've got a forester, so you're gonna do that one. You're gonna be able to get the run in the middle. You get these plants, and you get these plants. And all of you are gonna plant oaks, basically all the way down this run. Then for our gravity batteries, we're gonna need to run that dynamite. We're gonna have to do this a couple times. I'm gonna put triple dynamite down here, all the way to that lake. We're gonna make platforms on top, and these are gonna be where our gravity batteries are gonna be stationed on. And then our windmills are gonna be on the opposite side from everything. So we're on even more platforms. We're gonna use up all that big stockpile of supplies we've managed to gather. There's the trees planted, so we can get rid of most of those foresters. But to give you an idea of what I'm thinking, so I was mentioning earlier, the gravity batteries are going to kind of line up like this, and then opposite them are going to be large windmills, like that. Maybe for this first run over here, we're going to connect them. Now we do have a little bit of a shortage on paper, so I'm only going to put down a few of these to begin with. It's going to be basically a run down here, because we can't use that space because it's filled with water anyways, and this will allow us to kind of double dip. We've got gravity batteries, power, and water all being used in the same spot. Now, before I get too far with this building, I do see a problem here where this isn't green yet, and I want everything on this map to be green. Now, I'm going to use a technique where I'm going to run water under the road. So I'm going to square off some of these temporary roads that I had from before, but I think I'm going to run a dynamite connecting to this lake just under a road down here. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. We'll probably need to come in roughly around here. So as long as I don't build anything here so I can dynamite under it, that should be fine. As you can see, we plan basically a run like that. And one of the things I have to be aware of, with one of the updates, they really kind of nerfed this technique where water is most effective, I think, spreading green when there's kind of a 3x3 space available. So I think really what I do is I'd run this down, get to a certain point, and then have a kind of a 3x3 cover with platforms. Next, while the beavers are busy on this, we need to get the power over there. And so that's going to be a little bit what I mentioned earlier with taking the power from this other side. So we're going to continue that as well. And I'm going to kill two birds with one stone again in this case. I'm going to use that same, I'm going to widen the river a little bit to try to get rid of this dead terrain here. So we'll dynamite that down by 3. And my plan is basically to tap into the power supply on this house. So we're going to have one power shaft that goes down, curves, and then runs down here into the bottom of the river. And then we can take that all the way up. So in goes our power, all the way down to the riverbed. We can replace that with our road. Now we've got power way down there. So that will be easy to get the power around. We need to figure out how we're going to get it up. And I think I'm going to do that right in front of this dam. I think this is kind of an unintrusive place to build. And I'm thinking of basically zigzagging it in a switchback all the way up the side of the mountain. So if we had a switchback 3 wide, that's only going to let us go up 1 level per switchback, which is not very efficient. I think for this to be effective, we'd need probably a switchback of at least 4 squares wide. So for that to work, we're going to have to dynamite a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to go all the way up to here. We'll start with something like that. We're gonna need a way for somebody to get over there to construct too. I don't know how this is gonna work. We're gonna find out though. And we're gonna get the power all the way up to that switchback under the river. It's kind of messy, but you can't see it when the water's there, so we'll make do for now. I have plans for this kind of point in here that's gonna make this, change this in the future. So I'm gonna make do for now. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna make this kind of staircase that zigzags all the way up. We just have to get a few more pieces dynamited here, and then we can run it over here and then complete the zigzag up to the highest level. And if we want, we could even potentially kind of disguise this to make it look pretty by putting kind of a retaining wall just of levees there. I think we could just hide it a bit. So I'm thinking something like that. So you can see it's all the way curved all the way up, and then we're going to get to this wall, and then we're just going to need to dynamite a little bit more to get all the way up, and we're going to go basically back down into the water over here. So we're just going to have these power lines exposed for a little bit because I don't want the water to flood out through here. So they have to, I guess, go to the surface for just a little tiny space. We should be able to take the power the rest of the way down. And I'm just going to do kind of a quick and messy connection here. We can always change this just to get something working. Okay, and speaking of that, how is our windmill construction going? Good. I can see we also got this run here that we can dynamite. And also our dynamite that's going to be used for our gravity batteries. We've made progress on that. Dynamite all the way down here, and that's going to let those gravity batteries go down farther. And in fact, we're just going to keep on asking them to dynamite deeper and deeper below these. Now, I think this is something that we can also continue to do as the gravity batteries are built, so this doesn't need to block our gravity battery, or the construction of the more gravity batteries. But we can plan more windmills all the way down. And these are going to go all the way down until we get to that power supply. And we'll connect basically power all the way in between each of these. I really should have built these in the opposite order because beavers are going to build in the order that I build. And I really wanted them to start down here. So we'll just bump the priority on these first. We'll stack a few more other gravity batteries just on the edge there. And since there's a path right underneath, they should be able to get to these to build. And in just a few days, we've completed those windmills, and we've got our power shortage covered. And as you can see, we've now got probably close to 11K power that we're providing, and we're completely meeting our demands now. And that's in a large part due to these new gravity batteries. And you can see they run all the way down here, and they're built almost near the top of the map, or pretty close to it. And you can see we've dynamited all the way down to the bottom of the map, through this little tiny canyon. With that though, I think I'm going to call this episode. We've accomplished quite a bit. We got most of the map now green, we got our power shortage taken care of, and we now have over 133 bots. I'm looking forward to next episode though, because now that we have all this green space, we got to find ways to start using it. As always, I hope you enjoy these videos, and I hope to catch you next time.